In the outer rim of the galaxy, the United Earth fleet floated silently among the stars, an unassuming collection of vessels compared to the colossal armadas of the Zytherians and the Vroth, who had long dismissed humanity as a primitive and inconsequential species, their scanners recording nothing more than outdated technology, minimal population, and no signs of strategic sophistication. Yet deep within Earth's command centers, scientists and military tacticians had spent decades preparing for this inevitable moment, designing ships capable of bending space, weapons that manipulated energy on a scale previously thought impossible, and strategies that leveraged humanity's unpredictable adaptability. As the first Zytherian scouting fleet approached the edge of the Sol system, expecting an easy demonstration of dominance, they were met not with panic but with calculated calm. Earth's communications relayed a message stripped of threats or demands, merely a quiet declaration of presence and readiness. And in that silence, the aliens first sensed a flicker of unease, for humanity's restraint was not weakness but discipline, as the Zytherian commanders debated the minor threat Earth seemed to pose, unknowing that decades of observation, experimentation, and learning had produced a civilization whose ingenuity exceeded their calculations simultaneously. On the ground, humanity had begun subtle maneuvers throughout the colonies, robotic fleets calibrating, orbital defenses activating, and autonomous ships slipping silently into positions as Zytherians are considered unreachable, each calculated step a puzzle piece in a plan that would reveal itself only when it struck with overwhelming precision. And then came the first contact attempt. Zytherian envoys arriving in a display meant to intimidate, shimmering in their massive biosuits, expecting or awe fear, but instead greeted by humans who spoke without deference yet without hostility, offering terms that were rational yet firm, presenting a civilization confident in its rights, its capabilities, and its willingness to defend not only itself but the countless species whose pleas for protection had gone ignored by the Galactic Council. And as negotiations dragged on, the Zytherians began to sense inconsistencies in the information they had gathered, unexplained anomalies in human technology, tactical formations that seemed illogical yet impossible to counter, and then the first demonstration. A human cruiser activating a defensive field that absorbed and redirected a test volley of plasma without damage, alien eyes widening as they realized their assumptions about energy absorption, material science, and combat strategy were catastrophically outdated. And when the Vroth fleet attempted a probing strike near Mars, the humans responded not with panic but with precision, launching countermeasures that disabled engines, disrupted communication, and neutralized threats without, destroying life. An entirely new approach that combined ruthless efficiency with ethical calculation, sending shockwaves through the alien command structures who had never considered restraint and capability could coexist in such terrifying harmony back aboard Earth's orbital station. Strategists monitored every response, adapting in real time, while diplomats calmly negotiated with representatives who increasingly grasped that humanity's power was measured not in sheer numbers but in creativity, adaptability, and the will to act decisively when provoked. And as the Zytherians finally conceded that their underestimation was catastrophic, Earth initiated the second phase of its plan, sending subtle signals to allied species who had suffered under galactic oppression, revealing safe passage routes, technology blueprints, and tactical guidance, quietly igniting the first sparks of a coalition unseen and unimaginable to the old powers. And while the galaxy reeled from these initial demonstrations, humans on Earth continued their work, refining strategies, building alliances, and preparing for a confrontation that would ultimately prove that humanity's combination of intellect, resilience, and moral calculation was a force no empire could ignore. And as the first major engagement loomed, alien leaders debated in panic while human commanders coordinated with flawless synchronization, every action deliberate, every decision leveraging centuries of adaptability and lessons learned from both triumph and failure, until the moment arrived when humanity, long underestimated, long dismissed, long regarded as irrelevant by those who had ruled the stars with arrogance and fear, moved to assert itself fully, not with blind aggression but with strategic brilliance that shattered fleets, preserved innocence, and sent a clear message that the galaxy's age of dismissing Earth was over. And by the end of that first day, communications channels that had once been used to mock humanity were filled instead with requests, pleadings, and hesitant acknowledgments of a new order, as every alien civilization came to understand that while humans had been restrained, disciplined, and measured, the era of their patience had ended, and in every corner of the galaxy, Whispers of awe, fear, and grudging respect began to spread, marking the rise of a species whose true capabilities had finally been revealed, and humanity had prevailed not through chaos or unchecked power, but through a combination of strategic genius, unwavering resolve, and profound realization that the universe underestimated a species that had always been capable of rising to any challenge. As the aftermath of the first engagement rippled across nearby star systems, human fleets did not pause to celebrate, for the true test was only beginning, the Zytherians and Vroth scrambling to regroup while their political hierarchies reeled from the humiliation of underestimating a single planet, and on Earth, scientists monitored anomalies in alien communication networks, discovering vulnerabilities and patterns that human engineers could exploit without causing widespread destruction. A calculated show of dominance that demonstrated both capability and restraint, while human diplomats reached out to species long oppressed or ignored, offering not only protection but partnership, a promise that humanity's rise was not conquest but a restructuring of power based on respect, intelligence, and shared survival, as fleets moved silently through sectors once deemed entirely under alien control. Covert operations disabled key supply lines, and automated drones relayed live tactical data back to command centers, enabling human admirals to orchestrate maneuvers that were simultaneously defensive and offensive, a dance of precision that the aliens could neither predict nor comprehend. And as word of human victory spread, entire civilizations that had been considering rebellion or alliance with dominant galactic powers now questioned their choices. Inspired by a species that had endured centuries of neglect, threats, and scorn, yet had never abandoned preparation, ethical standards, or ingenuity, while on the ground, Earth's leaders coordinated with scientific communities, leveraging breakthroughs in propulsion, energy manipulation, and artificial intelligence to create autonomous units capable of acting with human judgment under predefined protocols, ensuring that no moment of hesitation could be exploited by the enemy. And as a second wave of alien reconnaissance approached, humans executed a coordinated display of tactical supremacy where fleets appeared in multiple quadrants simultaneously, cloaked ships disrupting sensor grids, and targeted strikes disabling weapons systems without casualties, a stark contrast to the destruction-focused strategies of the Zytherians and alien commanders, witnessing the seamless integration of technology, strategy, and human adaptability, began to realize that what they had once considered a primitive species was in fact a civilization operating on a level that rivaled or exceeded their own. And as negotiations were reluctantly reopened, human envoys spoke not of subjugation but of consequences for aggression, their calm and measured tone carrying the weight of undeniable power, offering the aliens a choice between cooperation under mutually beneficial terms or continued confrontation at a cost no empire could sustain. Meanwhile, hidden human intelligence networks transmitted blueprints, defensive protocols, and strategic guidance to sympathetic or threatened species, creating an invisible web of alliances that further eroded the confidence of the old galactic powers. And as a third engagement loomed near the Zytherian home sector, humans executed a preemptive series of maneuvers that trapped enemy fleets in configurations that neutralized their numerical advantage, leveraging gravitational anomalies, energy field manipulation, and unprecedented coordination between AI-controlled craft and human officers, forcing alien admirals into defensive postures while simultaneously protecting civilian populations and allied worlds. And as the battle unfolded, reports filtered back to Earth of previously enslaved or oppressed species now rising to aid the humans, their contributions small but significant, and in combination with the human-led strategies, these interventions created outcomes that seemed miraculous to the aliens, who had failed to anticipate not only human ingenuity but the moral and tactical alliances forged in the shadows. And with each passing hour, human influence spread not through fear alone but through respect earned by precision, ethics, and decisiveness. Alien media broadcasts began to show uncertainty, fear, and confusion among their populations. Leaders struggled to maintain control, and whispers of rebellion and disobedience spread faster than any human communication could, proving that humanity's reach extended beyond fleets and weapons into the hearts and minds of those who had once ruled with arrogance. And by the time the first week of engagements concluded, the galaxy had already begun to shift, civilizations quietly acknowledging that humanity was not just a rising power but a species whose patience, intelligence, and resolve would forever alter the balance of power. and as Earth's leaders and fleet commanders convened, they did so knowing that victory had not been achieved through rashness or destruction but through a combination of foresight, relentless preparation, and the unwavering principle that power tempered by ethics and strategic brilliance was the greatest force the galaxy had ever encountered, and in every sector touched by human presence, the phrase "humanity prevails" began to carry not only hope and inspiration, but the chilling undertone that any who challenged the species would soon understand the full consequences of their misjudgment. As the galaxy began to absorb the shock of humanity's emerging dominance, Earth's command centers worked tirelessly to refine strategies that blended foresight, adaptability, and the lessons learned from the first encounters, while human engineers developed new ship classes capable of dynamic reconfiguration mid-battle, shifting from offense to defense or support roles within moments, a capability that alien fleets had no precedent to counter. And on the diplomatic front, human envoys traveled across contested systems, not as conquerors but as protectors, offering aid, technology, and guidance to species who had suffered under decades of Itherian and Vroth oppression, each interaction sowing seeds of loyalty and trust, which translated into covert intelligence, sabotage of enemy supply lines, and tactical insight that humans integrated seamlessly into their planning. And while alien leaders convened emergency councils, attempting to create unified responses to what they still underestimated as a global threat, humans anticipated each countermove, their ability to predict alien behavior born not from arrogance but from meticulous study, pattern recognition, and an understanding of both logic and emotion. As fleets maneuvered near the contested frontier, human ships executed diversionary tactics, feints, and decoy deployments that made numerical inferiority irrelevant, while cybernetic units infiltrated enemy systems, creating confusion without destruction, a subtle form of dominance that alien commanders had never encountered. And back on Earth, scientists observe anomalies in alien technology, adapting them into defensive measures that could shield entire colonies while conserving resources, a feat that left the galactic powers scrambling to understand. As human colonies and outer systems began coordinating directly with the central fleet, transmitting real-time data, environmental scans, and logistical support, creating an interlinked network of intelligence and operational control that allowed humanity to act faster than any alien adversary. Meanwhile, alien propaganda attempted to downplay human effectiveness, but intercepted communications, combined with visible tactical successes, reveal cracks in the credibility of their governments. And whispers of disobedience and mutiny spread among Itherian and Vroth ranks as lower commanders recognized that traditional hierarchical approaches were failing against an opponent who valued initiative, adaptation, and ethical constraints as much as raw firepower. And in one critical sector near the Andara cluster, a human-led coalition successfully orchestrated a multi-pronged engagement where fleets attacked from angles previously thought impossible. Automated drones created environmental traps that disrupted alien formations, and covert teams sabotaged key command nodes without loss of civilian life, forcing the enemy into retreat and demonstrating the combination of intellect, strategy, and restraint that defined humanity's approach. And as news of this operation reached allied and neutral species, entire systems began to pledge allegiance or support, understanding that aligning with humans offered protection, technological advancement, and a model of governance that combined strength with principle. While alien fleets struggled to regroup, the humans exploited gaps in communication, launching precision strikes and psychological operations that undermined morale, all carefully calibrated to avoid unnecessary destruction but ensure a decisive advantage. And as Earth's leadership monitored the campaign, they prepared the next phase, not simply to repel aggression but to secure lasting stability, demonstrating that humanity's victory was not temporary or chaotic but deliberate, sustainable, and principled. And with each passing engagement, it became clearer that the Itherians, Vroth, and other galactic powers had made a catastrophic error in assuming that restraint, intelligence, and ethical discipline were weaknesses rather than the very strengths that would allow humanity to prevail. And as a coalition of liberated and allied species expanded, the phrase "humanity prevails" transformed from a rallying cry into a reality, signaling a new era where ingenuity, courage, and moral resolve reshaped the galaxy's understanding of power, strategy, and leadership, and where humans had not only survived centuries of underestimation, but had emerged as a force capable of redefining the rules of interstellar engagement for generations to come. As human influence spread across the sectors that had once been dominated by Zytherian and Vroth control, Earth strategists shifted focus from reactive engagements to proactive shaping of the galactic order, implementing operations that combine precision strikes, defensive fortifications, and intelligence sharing with allied species to create zones of stability and protection. While fleets of modular human warships moved in coordinated patterns, exploiting gravitational anomalies, energy fluctuations, and cloaking technologies to appear in multiple locations simultaneously, a tactic that alien admirals could neither predict nor counter effectively, and on numerous contested planets, human engineers oversaw the construction of advanced orbital defenses, energy shields, and rapid response units capable of neutralizing threats before they reached population centers, demonstrating not only tactical brilliance but ethical foresight, preserving life while asserting dominance. Meanwhile, alien leadership councils descended into chaos as report of unexpected human capabilities, coordinated resistance by allied species, and flawless execution of strategies spread throughout their networks, undermining confidence, prompting infighting, and eroding decades of assumed superiority. And as humans expanded their diplomatic efforts, envoys reached out to neutral or ambivalent civilizations, offering protection, technology, and participation in a coalition whose principles were clear. Strength guided by ethics, innovation coupled with foresight, and decisive action tempered by respect, which created not only strategic advantages but widespread loyalty, intelligence networks, and operational support that alien powers could not disrupt. In parallel, covert human units conducted surgical interventions in key sectors, disabling command structures, redirecting resources, and providing humanitarian assistance to oppressed populations, a multifaceted approach that combined deterrence, offense, and moral authority, forcing Zytherian and Vroth admirals to recognize that direct confrontation with humans carried escalating and unpredictable consequences, and as battles erupted across multiple star systems, human forces demonstrated an uncanny ability to adapt, with autonomous units and human commanders integrating seamlessly, exploiting weaknesses, anticipating maneuvers, and maintaining the ethical constraints that had guided them since the initial engagements, all while preserving civilian lives and allied assets, and as Earth prepared to consolidate control over critical hyperspace routes, strategic points, and communication networks, humans initiated a series of coordinated displays of power, including energy manipulations, orbital demonstrations, and precision strikes that neutralized hostile assets without unnecessary casualties, creating both awe and fear among the galactic powers, whose miscalculations had allowed a species once considered minor to gain irreversible advantage, and with each engagement, the coalition of allied species grew stronger, their loyalty fueled by gratitude, protection, and the example of humans operating with principle and unmatched strategic acumen, while alien propaganda attempted to spin failures as minor setbacks. Intercepted communications revealed panic, dissent, and confusion, demonstrating that the psychological impact of humanity's methods was as significant as the tactical victories themselves, and as humans moved to secure diplomatic agreements, enforce protections, and stabilize previously contested regions, it became clear that their influence was reshaping galactic politics, commerce, and alliances, establishing a framework where future conflicts will be measured not only by force but by intelligence, ethics, and adaptability. And by the end of this phase, the reality had set in across the galaxy that humanity was no longer an underestimated planet or a minor player, but a civilization whose combined ingenuity, resilience, and strategic foresight ensured that they would prevail in every confrontation, redefine power dynamics, and inspire both awe and caution among all who had once thought them irrelevant or inferior. As the momentum of humanity's rise continued to sweep through the galaxy, the United Earth Fleet focused on consolidating control over key strategic regions, deploying fleets in layered formations that combined overwhelming defensive capability with adaptive offensive flexibility, and the alien powers, still reeling from previous encounters, struggled to comprehend the seamless integration of human intelligence, technology, and ethical constraint, while on distant worlds, liberated populations began cooperating directly with human engineers and tacticians, providing local knowledge, environmental data, and logistical support that amplified human effectiveness exponentially. And as the Zytherians and Vroth attempted retaliatory strikes, they found themselves repeatedly outmaneuvered, their traditional formations disrupted by unpredictable human tactics, energy field manipulations, and instantaneous redeployment of fleets guided by real-time AI analysis, which leveraged centuries of accumulated human knowledge, intuition, and improvisation, and on multiple fronts, covert operations disabled supply chains, communication hubs, and key infrastructure, all executed with surgical precision and minimal collateral damage, demonstrating that humanity's approach combined power, strategy, and morality in a way the galaxy had never witnessed. Meanwhile, diplomats continued to negotiate with neutral or previously hostile species, offering protection, trade opportunities, and technological advancement, fostering alliances that created an invisible network of support, intelligence, and mutual defense, further complicating alien plans. And as the humans executed simultaneous operations across dozens of systems, alien leaders found themselves paralyzed by uncertainty, unable to predict which threats were immediate, which feints, and which were diversions. While human commanders anticipated reactions, adapted strategies, and deployed contingencies in real time, exploiting the very inflexibility that had allowed alien dominance for centuries, and as word of humanity's victory spread, entire civilizations previously enslaved or oppressed began rising to assist the humans, creating localized resistance movements, sabotage cells, and intelligence networks that multiplied human effectiveness beyond what alien strategists had calculated, all coordinated seamlessly through encrypted channels, autonomous units, and human-led command hubs. And while Zytherian and Vraw fleets scrambled to regroup, human forces conducted coordinated demonstrations of technological superiority, including propulsion systems capable of instantaneous maneuvers, energy shields that absorbed overwhelming firepower, and communication arrays that intercepted and decoded enemy transmissions, leaving alien commanders struggling to respond effectively. And as the battle line shifted, humans maintained focus not on domination but on stabilization, ensuring that liberated species were protected, civilian populations remained safe, and the balance of power was reshaped according to principles of justice, foresight, and calculated deterrence. And by the time the fifth week of operations concluded, the galaxy had begun to accept a new reality. Humanity was not merely a threat but a stabilizing force, a civilization whose ability to combine moral constraint, strategic brilliance, and relentless adaptability ensured that any attempt to oppose them would be met with overwhelming consequence, and the phrase "humanity prevails" was no longer a rallying cry but a factual statement acknowledged in hushed tones across star systems, symbolizing a species whose patient preparation, ethical discipline, and unparalleled ingenuity had rewritten the rules of interstellar power, diplomacy, and survival, and whose continued rise promised to protect allies, punish aggressors, and redefine what it meant to command respect across the galaxy. As humanity's influence solidified across contested star systems, Earth's fleet transitioned from large-scale engagements to precision enforcement and strategic shaping of the galactic order, coordinating human, allied, and liberated species into an integrated operational network that allowed instant communication, rapid deployment, and simultaneous action across multiple sectors. And while alien powers scrambled to maintain control, their fleets hampered by miscommunication, internal dissent, and outdated assumptions, humans demonstrated not only technological supremacy but an unparalleled understanding of psychology, diplomacy, and coalition management, leveraging fear, respect, and loyalty to achieve outcomes that no single fleet could accomplish alone. And on worlds previously oppressed, human advisors implemented sustainable governance, technological training, and defensive measures, ensuring that these civilizations could maintain autonomy while contributing meaningfully to the broader coalition, creating a self-reinforcing network of stability and resilience. Meanwhile, Zytherians and Vroth, desperate to salvage credibility, attempted concentrated assaults on key human positions, only to encounter preemptive defenses that anticipated their moves, neutralized their offensive systems, and trapped their forces in tactical dead zones engineered through orbital manipulation, energy field control, and coordinated multi-vector fleet maneuvers, demonstrating humanity's mastery over both space and strategy. And as skirmishes spread across multiple fronts, human fleets deployed advanced drones capable of autonomous decision-making, environmental adaptation, and coordinated action with human commanders, amplifying effectiveness while minimizing risk. And in parallel, human intelligence teams exploited alien weaknesses, infiltrating communications, redirecting supply chains, and sowing confusion among enemy ranks, further destabilizing their capacity to resist. And as battles raged, human diplomacy worked tirelessly behind the scenes, negotiating ceasefires, establishing protective treaties for liberated species, and creating binding alliances that alien powers found impossible to undermine, all while maintaining strict ethical standards that contrasted sharply with the coercion and fear tactics the aliens had historically relied upon. And as the campaign reached its climactic phase, humans executed a series of operations designed to demonstrate final, undeniable superiority. Fleets simultaneously striking key command nodes, energy manipulations that rendered traditional weaponry ineffective, and coordinated evacuations and protections of civilians across multiple sectors, showcasing that humanity's victory was not predicated on destruction but on control, precision, and principle, and the alien powers, faced with the undeniable reality of human superiority, experience a crisis of confidence, rebellion within their own ranks, and the collapse of previously unchallenged hierarchies, while across the galaxy, liberated civilizations openly pledged loyalty, shared intelligence, and coordinated their own defensive and offensive capabilities under human guidance, reinforcing the irreversible shift in power dynamics. And as the dust settled, Earth's leadership convened with allied commanders to consolidate gains, reinforce protections, and prepare a lasting framework for peace and stability, a demonstration that human victory was strategic, ethical, and enduring. And by the end of these final orchestrated operations, the truth was evident across the galaxy. Humans had not only survived and resisted the aggression of dominant powers, but had reshaped the balance of interstellar authority, and the phrase "humanity prevails" resounded not only as a warning to those who underestimated them, but as a promise of protection, wisdom, and unwavering resolve for those who joined them, and in every system touched by human influence. The legacy of intelligence, restraint, and strategic brilliance became the foundation of a new galactic order, one defined not by fear, coercion, or unchecked aggression, but by the combination of ingenuity, moral discipline, and relentless adaptability that ensured humanity would remain dominant, respected, and unstoppable. With the galaxy now fully aware of humanity's capabilities, Earth and its allied species moved to finalize a new interstellar order, establishing a coalition that combined strategic power, technological advancement, and ethical governance, while the Zytherians and Vroth, once arrogant and dismissive, now faced the consequences of decades of miscalculation, their fleet fragmented, leaders deposed, and influence permanently diminished, and across liberated sectors, human engineers and administrators implemented systems that ensured stability, security, and self-determination for civilizations previously oppressed, integrating advanced communication networks, defensive technologies, and adaptive fleet coordination to prevent future conflicts from escalating, while human scientists continue to refine energy manipulation, propulsion, and strategic intelligence systems, ensuring that humanity's edge remained unassailable, and as humans conducted the final phases of their campaign, subtle but decisive operations neutralized residual threats without unnecessary destruction, demonstrating a balance of power, restraint, and precision that alien civilizations had never encountered. Meanwhile, human diplomats solidified alliances through treaties that combined mutual defense, trade, and technological sharing, creating interstellar bonds that reinforce loyalty and trust. And as the last Zytherian stronghold conceded, reports flowed from allied systems of newfound independence, infrastructure rebuilding, and flourishing cultural renewal, all coordinated under the guidance of humanity's coalition, showcasing that the victory was not just military but transformative, reshaping societies and perspectives across light years. And as human coordinated the final orbital defenses, fleet rotations, and protective measures of critical hyperspace routes, the galaxy settled into a new equilibrium where human ingenuity, strategic brilliance, and ethical discipline became the standard by which civilizations measured strength and capability, while alien powers slowly adjusted to their new roles as equals or subordinates in a system they had once dominated unquestioned. And through every engagement, negotiation, and stabilization effort, humanity demonstrated a principle long underestimated, that patience, intelligence, adaptability, and moral calculation could overcome brute force, arrogance, and centuries of oppression, and in the end, as Earth's leaders, observed a vast network of allied and liberated systems flourishing under protection and guidance, they recognized that the struggle had proven a fundamental truth about their species, that humanity would not only survive any threat but thrive in ways the galaxy could neither anticipate nor contain, and the celebrations of liberation and cooperation echoed across worlds. The phrase "humanity prevails" became more than a declaration. It was the embodiment of a civilization's resilience, foresight, an unmatched capacity to shape the universe according to its principles, a lasting testament that every miscalculation made by those who underestimated humans had reinforced the inevitability of their ascendancy, and by the time the final diplomatic and strategic operations concluded, the galaxy had entered an era defined by respect, vigilance, and alliance under the watchful and guiding hand of humanity, whose brilliance, discipline, and unyielding will had ensured not only survival but triumph, forever cementing the legacy of a species whose rise had been ignored, doubted, and dismissed, only to prevail spectacularly, reshaping the cosmos and teaching every civilization across the stars that underestimating humanity was the gravest error any being could make. And from that moment forward, in every system, every starport, and every fleet command, the truth resonated. Humanity had endured, adapted, outmaneuvered, and emerged victorious, and the galaxy would never again question that humanity prevails.